people of our day. It's a social question. It is to determine who'll gain the upper hand in our society today. Will it be an exploitation by the strong, or a consecration of each one for the welfare of all?
Well, Peter, we're down here today at Parliament House Lawns. Can you tell us a bit about what today's about?
Well, for a number of years in Hobart, we've had a network of the Amnesty schools groups with the Justice Action Network from the Catholic system, and every year we organise a demonstration, a rally, where the students have the chance to do public speaking, play music, make banners and so on. And the theme this year is about support for refugees, in opposition to the government's plans to deport them to Malaysia, and also focus on violence against women and children, of course, suffer the most. And so we've got a whole mix of people from different schools, including refugees. There's people here from the public system, the state system, the private system, and it's the only network of its kind in Hobart that actually where all the schools get together on a social justice, human rights issue.
On the 14th of May 2011, members of various schools and Amnesty International held a rally to help dispel the myths surrounding refugees and to promote the facts surrounding the issue of refugees, as well as to share many personal stories. The event was a joint effort between the Schools Justice Action Network and Amnesty International. There were speakers and performers from Hobart Schools Ogilvie, Friends and Sacred Heart College. In Australia, the debate around refugees has been largely framed by myths and misconceptions. The common belief that refugees are illegal, for example, simply isn't true. This is stated in the Australian Migration Act of 1958. Also, asylum seekers who arrive by boat make up less than 2% of Australia's annual immigration. It is worth remembering that at current arrival rates of approximately 5,000 people per year, it would take 20 years to fill a stadium the size of Australia's Melbourne Cricket Ground. On top of that, over 90% of refugees who arrive by boat are found to be genuine refugees, fleeing persecution, torture, or the threat of death in other countries. Now, Lara, you're helping gather signatures today for Amnesty's response to the recent events to do with refugees in government. What are your feelings or thoughts about the refugee issue?
Well, I think it's something that really needs to be resolved, and if we don't do something about it now, we will never do anything. So it's something that a lot of people are extremely unaware of, and today we're here to raise awareness for something that's really important and needs to be done something about, really.
Sure, when you say they're unaware of it, do you mean the facts about the matter, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, this is Elise and May from Ogilvie High School. I was wondering, you guys, now that today when we're doing a bit of a refugee event, do you have some thoughts about the refugee debate in Australia of your own? What do you think should be the way we should do it?
I think we should support refugees quite strongly. Yeah.
That's great. Do you have any ideas about refugees?
I think we should stop the problems in the countries instead of just waiting for all the people to come and then sticking them in detention centres.
Sure, like we said, we should tackle the root of the problem rather than the symptoms, perhaps.
Exactly.
Thank you for that.
Now I live in Australia, I'm bitterly ashamed that there are people in Australia who forget that 98% of us are descended from boat people, whether they're flying boats or wooden boats. And because they've never had the opportunity to meet refugees and to hear their stories, they are saying no to the people who've made the kind of journey that we've got here. I've been to Afghanistan and I've been to Iraq. I have some knowledge of the conditions people are fleeing from to come to Australia. And they talk about joining a queue, and they suggest that we send people back to those countries, and we don't want to welcome them. How can we convey to our fellow Australians what it is to be a refugee and what it is unless you've met one and talked to one. I believe passionately if every Australian had the chance to meet refugees, they don't have to go to Afghanistan or Iraq or Africa, they just have to meet them and hear those stories. And I'm really proud of the young people who've come here today and organised and sung and spoken, because they've got a passion for justice and a passion for Australia that our politicians should be listening to. And all those people who write these dreadful letters to the paper saying send them back, they don't understand that the Declaration of Human Rights, Article 14, says every person on this planet has the right to seek asylum. They don't understand that Australia signed the Refugee Convention of 1951 and that we should be welcoming these people instead of spending millions and millions and millions putting them in detention camps. Sometimes I'm so ashamed to be Australian. So I want to thank the young people who've come here today. They may not be old enough to vote, but I hope our politicians have heard them.
Our first two speakers we'd like to welcome are Alam and Drania from Sacred Heart College, and they're going to speak to us about their experiences in Africa and in Australia. Please welcome them.
Hello everybody, my name's Alan Kabidi and I'm from Ethiopia and I've been in Australia for 10 years. Australia's been like my home for me. My family and I moved to Australia because of the political situation. We found it hard to live in our own country. Australia has invited such a variety of refugees from all over the world. I can remember being in jail with my mum. We were going to see my brother, who my nan had. We rode a camel for 4 days. When we got there, my nan would not give my mum my brother because she thought my mum was not stable enough in the brain. So she called the police and we got arrested for a night. If you think being in jail at the age 6 years old is bad, most refugees have had worse experiences. Please remember, refugees are just like people like you.
Like when I came here, it was like so different. Everyone had to go to school and stuff. It was like, wow. All the other children back there, they're like sitting there wondering what is gonna be of their life in the future. But like here, you have a better chance of actually getting a life, a dream, and a goal quite set up for you. So when I came here, my first impression was as well, I was like, wow, it's a really different country, but like, I'm gonna try my best to fit in with everyone. And like, along the way, I made great friends who like really supportive of me. And like, everywhere I go, I see all these different skin colors. And I guess sometimes you get offended by of things people might say to you, but like, it's not really worth it because we're all the same people. What I'm trying to say is that refugees are just like every other person. Even though they might have different skin color, they might speak different languages, that just doesn't make them any different.
Good morning to you all. Well, as you can see, my name is Elaji, and I would like to share a bit of my experience in Australia and back home. Well, for a start, I miss my homeland, and Australia is nothing like my homeland. But since we all are here, we're all here from different parts of the world, so it's really different to what we used to. I'm here in Australia with my brother, my sister, and my nephew. My parents were both killed in the war back in my country, so I'm like, my brother's like my mom, my dad, and he's all I got, really. But I usually insult my brother, but that doesn't matter. But the main thing is that he really looks after me. He's been there whenever I needed him. For me, it's all I have. Yeah, Australia is a good country, but the thing is, I kind of like it here. But I also think about going to my homeland once I finish year 12 here, to go back and visit my friends, family members, all those people who helped us come to Australia. Thank you.
Susie, you're here showing your support for today's rally, which is in part is a schools rally about refugees and some other things. What are your thoughts about the refugee issue in Australia as it happens?
I think the situation is quite shameful at the moment. I feel a little bit ashamed by our response to people who are in need.
Michael, you're here from Guildford Young as part of this schools event. What are your feelings about the refugee debate or the refugee issue in Australia?
Look, I think it's an enormously complex issue, but I think the key to this and all things is compassion and understanding. I think a lot of people don't actually understand what it's like not to have a home, or to be kicked out of your own home and have the desperation of not being have a place to stay. And I think that it's important that we just keep that in mind. I think that's the central thing: compassion for other humans, and I think that has to be the number one.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. For though they may be parted, there is still a chance that we may see. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be.